In this week's episode, we take a look at CPM Film Tools Cubed Rig, discuss the importance of color temperature and white balance, and I give my thoughts on the new Final Cut Pro 10. DVTV starts right now.
This episode is made possible in part by JAG 35 Affordable Solutions for Filmmakers, Rode Microphones, Manhattan LCD, the affordable solution for high-definition monitoring, Blackbird Camera Stabilizer, designed to be easy to use with great performance.
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of DVTV. I'm your host Tony Reale, and today I'm going to be showing you some new stuff from CPM Film Tools. We got the CPM cubed rig here. I've been using this for a couple months now. I love it. It's really cool. It's basically their take on a cage design system for a DSLR. Obviously this is optimized for a DSLR. You can see the offset here. This allows you to have the handle grip of the DSLR hanging out over here. It's one of the larger cage systems that I've seen for DSLRs. A lot of them are a little bit slimmer, kind of hug the design of the DSLR, but because of the way that they've manufactured this, it's a little bigger, but I think it provides a couple advantages, and I'll tell you why. There's a lot of mounting options on here. You can actually mount a Tachyon battery pack on top of here. There's lots of spots for mounting and grips. There's actually a rail rod support on top here, so you could run another set of rods, which I have done for things like shoulder rigs. You can turn this into a shoulder rig. Additional attachments, stuff like that. Of course, your rods on the bottom, which is great for your follow focus, matte box, anything like that. Now, there's a couple things I don't like about this right off the bat. Since this is all plastic, this has a tendency, if you over tighten it or even tighten it down normally, you'll see a little cracks in here. I haven't noticed that those have actually done any damage or have come loose at all, or it does crack a little bit, but then it stays on there and it only seems to crack the one time. So haven't seen, and I've been using it for a while, so I haven't seen any major stuff going wrong with that. But it's kind of frustrating a little bit. The model that I have, there's no hole here for a battery grip, but I was told that the newer ones do have that, so that's kind of a nice feature. As with most rigs, they come with this plastic quick release plate, which is nice to have. I commend them again for having this on there. This is nice, but it is just not as nice as a good Manfrotto plate, which I have here. So I've replaced that. The nice thing is that you can easily replace this, and you get that metal attachment, which is a lot firmer. So yeah, overall I like it. Now, one of the cool things that this allows you to do, because this is using your standard 15mm rod support on the side, you can attach other things to it. So I've actually attached the JAG 35 battery to the side here, just at other attachments that it's a standard length, the same as the regular rod, so you can literally attach anything to these sides here that you want. You can put handle grips. This is the 1.0 rig. The 2.0 and the 3.0 have like handle grip systems and cage supports. There's a lot more stuff to it, but at its core, this is one of the cheapest DSLR cages you're going to find out there. Great value, solid build. I think it's a great place to start if you're looking for a DSLR cage.
This episode is made possible in part by iCan, features you need, prices you want. LCD Viewfinder, the essential accessory for DSLR video. Lightcraft Workshop, the perfect tools to create the perfect image.
And one of the things that a lot of people don't quite understand, but is a huge importance to the look of your video, is white balance and color temperature. Color temperature is measured in Kelvin degrees. Now, Kelvins actually came up by Lord Kelvin, who determined that the current scales for degree temperatures went, what he believed was absolute zero should be the starting point, whereas with Celsius, it was negative 273 degrees. So he decided absolute zero is going to be where we start, and every temperature after that is just going to go up from there. What was discovered, though, is when you heat iron to various degrees Kelvin, it would glow at different colors. So, for example, around 3200 degrees Kelvin, when iron is heated to that, you would see a orangish yellow color. When it was heated up to 4300, you would get a greener color. When you go up to 5600, it's a bluer color. Just like a traditional rainbow scale where you have red through indigo, the same thing happens when you heat up these degrees of Kelvin on iron. Now, we use that as our standard for measuring video color temperature. For example, incandescent light is a range around 2000 to 3500 degrees Kelvin. It can range quite dramatically in there, but actual lights that are calibrated for tungsten are around 3200 degrees Kelvin. Daylight, as we are right here, can vary dramatically as well, depending on if it's an overcast day like now or a bright sunshiny day, but lights that are calibrated for daylight are considered around 5600 degrees Kelvin. White balance can dramatically affect the look of your video. As you can see here, if we change the white balance to say 3200 degrees Kelvin, telling the camera that white is a yellow color, everything's going to look blue. So in a daylight situation, because we have a daylight light, everything's going to look blue. So we want to dial that to a correct white balance, which is around 5600 degrees Kelvin, and then we're telling the camera what is white is around what is blue. Our eyes automatically do this, and you may not even notice it. A good example is if you go into, say, a room where there's a window and an incandescent light, you can see that there's a blue color coming through the window and more of a yellow hue coming from the light. The camera needs to be told what that is. Now, you can also use white balance on your camera for creative styling. If, say, you have a 5600 degree light and you tell your camera that 5600 degrees is white, but say you add a quarter CTO, which is a color temperature orange gel, you can warm up the look of your film and add a unique look without even having to do it in color post-production. Same thing can happen in other directions. We're going to talk about creative uses of gels in future episodes, but just keep in mind that you want to have the correct white balance. You also don't want to mix color temperatures if you're not doing it creatively. If you have an incandescent light and you have a window, they're not going to look well together. It's going to look poor and amateurish. So you either want to gel that light or get a light that's 5600 degrees.
This episode is made possible in part by CPM Film Tools, your lightweight solution for caging the beast. CheesyCam.com, the latest gear reviews and DIY video and photo projects. Linco Lighting, professional lighting for photo and video.
All right, so the big news last week was Final Cut Pro X was finally released. A lot of people were wondering what it was going to be like when Apple announced it back at NAB. And being as that they were going to be only announcing one edition for $299, I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be like. This was a multi-$1,000 program that's been used by TV and film professionals for quite a while and has been one of the industry leaders. And so dropping the price, is it going to remove features? What's going to happen? So Final Cut 10 was released and we had a chance to play around with it, and it is obvious right off the bat that a lot of features are missing. Stuff like multicam editing, XML, dual monitor, and the list goes on, but there's a lot of things that professional editors are really used to that are missing. One of the big ones is tape-based media is very limited support. I've been using Final Cut at work, and we do a television show and we have to print out the tape. So the ability to not print to tape is a big drawback. There's really nothing we can do. We have to work with Final Cut Pro 7 in the time, for the time being, until either Apple chooses to add those features or we switch over to a different editor. One of the big ones too is that you can't import, currently you can't import old Final Cut projects into Final Cut 10. Now they say, just make new ones. It's not that big a deal. Well, when you have a library of hundreds of old projects and you know that those are going to be dated in the future, you want to be able to hang on to it, and you may not want to keep two versions of the same software on your computer. One of the big things, in my opinion, is Apple realizes that Final Cut has a certain level of dating. It's kind of dated, and they wanted to update it. They wanted to bring it into a new generation of editing. The problem is people that are familiar with that are feeling that they're being forced to relearn a program that they've been familiar with. And it's causing a lot of people to consider switching to either Avid or Premiere. And I've been using Premiere for most of my independent work because it runs great on my PC laptop, and I've been very happy with it for DSLR shooting. And so honestly, I've talked to several editors and they found that it's easier to move from Final Cut 7 or 6 over to Premiere than it is to move from Final Cut 7 or 6 up to Final Cut X. So make your own educated decision. At $2.99, it's really a great price. It's one of the cheapest editors out there, and it has a ton more features than iMovie. So if you're an independent filmmaker, if you make videos on YouTube, and you're looking at just finally getting a professional editor, but you don't have a ton of money, I think Final Cut X is a great starting point. If you're trying to move from a different editor that you're more familiar with, or you're considering upgrading and you need some of those pro features, you might look at switching over to Avid or Premiere and maintaining a lot of the features that you're familiar with.
Want more Next Wave DV in your life? Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube to be notified when the next episode airs. Visit our website for daily posts on the latest digital video news. Like us on Facebook to join the Next Wave DV community, and follow us on Twitter for behind-the-scenes news and pictures.